nightmares of daggers in the dark at the end of this tournament by the looks of things.
I mean, no one could forget the Probius snap lock into the Valyria V2, but ones took a game off of Fnatic too, so they also have been able to do versus Europe what CE has yet to do.
Tomb of the Spider Queen will be our destination for the first map here between the two teams. What do we make of it here?
Well, I mean, this is definitely one, if you're trying to look for those skirmishes, you're going to find them because they're around every single corner of this map. You know, the way that we've seen the drafts unfold for CE, to me, have stood out the most, that it just doesn't, the synergy in the draft alone has not looked appealing, right? So it's a matter of you're here, you're in the new meta, you've been scrimming. This is an opportunity for you to, instead of try different things and the Probius and all that, just find the meta that works within your team, go back to some of the old things and just shift them a little bit. And I think they're just doing too much.
This is a map that CE are very experienced on, but potentially not in the best way. It's one of their actually lower win rate maps overall, but it's a map where it's a bit polarizing for them. When they lose pretty hard. When they win, it's dominant victories. And this is one of the maps they've brought out the sneaky stitches. And the, I think you mentioned it yesterday when we saw the, or a day before, I think, where we saw the Leoric and Phoenix lock-in by them. This is the map where they actually brought out the Entomb Planet Cracker combo.
Lightning in a bottle. Also, it's where CE have been willing to run double support in the past,
yes,
right?
It is.
So some interesting strategies potentially coming out from CE. For Luna Meow, we've seen Tomb once from them thus far, and it is where they played Ariel Hanzo before. So we'll see if we're going to continue to get Ariel. I am almost to the point now where I want to see Kim play Stukov just once.
Yeah.
Just to see. I know that he's been nerfed, but because he would set up kills so well for the team, like I almost feel like it's not so much his play as the team being used to that style of hero.
Yeah, makes sense. The one thing I wanted to ask you guys is that obviously Luna Meow hasn't had the easiest of roads here through this group, never a CE to be perfectly honest with you, but is this one where Luna Meow could potentially get the victory here?
If there's any team they could, considering the CE really seem to be struggling to find their footing, I'd say this would be the team they could potentially take a victory against. But I've got to have a little faith in my own region. I think it's going to be very much, once again, the Stukov could be a very deciding factor in that, especially seeing as 365, it's in his top 3, but significantly less than Malfurion and Rhaegar.
Yeah, I feel like 365 is probably a little more flexible as well from what we have seen from him in the past.
Luna Meow, to me, draft-wise, has stood out. Like, if you were to just remove the name from the drafts, I'd say, man, these are really good drafts. Again, it's just for me, when I was able to commentate them yesterday, it was more about the functionality within that draft was just off on several occasions. Watching Ariel channel at the bottom of Towers of Doom while Vala steps very far forward, comes back in that heal. He's trying to hold that heal for that perfect moment. And those are very pivotal moments in a game that seem subtle, but when you start to lose the momentum, you get the altar, you had the aggressive front, but then you completely give it all back in that one moment. So the draft-wise, again, if you can function within those drafts, I think that it's more promising to me to have the drafts and then tune that up a little bit better.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a really important point that you mentioned even beyond that, and that's just Bowie in general needs to calm.
Yeah, he's super aggressive.
So like he's doing what you want, right? Like he's out there, he's ready to go, he's being aggressive, he's trying to use that hot pursuit movement speed, his Genji, whatever it is. But then the rest of the team is more timid almost, or like the slow rotations. So either speed up to him or bring him back just a little bit to the rest, but play as one is for sure what has been the common theme for Luna Meow, even day one, making sure that if you're going to run a chain, crowd control, blow up composition, you have everyone on the same page.
You single out Bowie as the guy there that is the one that's pushing himself a little bit forwards. Obviously, Bowie has way more true international experience than the other four. The other four are of Team Face Check in the past, of course, which have, been to some of the smaller lands, but not the internationals that Soul Torchers were able to attend in their time. Is that the kind of dynamic that comes into play here? Bowie's like, I've been here all the time. It's let's go, boys. But the other guys are like, oh, wait a minute, these guys are really good.
It may be a change of identity or him trying to keep them playing to the same level as before, because sometimes you do see that, just that play with respect that's a little too much respect for your opponents when you hit the big leagues, the big stage, right? So that may be it as well, but it's a It's interesting to think way back to the PBA days, because you had like the Baphomet era, which was, I think, the cream of the crop of Taiwan, is when he was on PBA. And then Bowie, I think, replaced him, or maybe it was a little bit after him too, but...
I still remember those old Zeratul ETC days.
Oh, man.
It was like,
Baphomet Zeratul.
Just go. Just go.
Just rip NA. It's how the Zeratul days used to be.
There's two of them here, don't
Don't poke the beast.
I don't remember that.
Look, I don't need my panel triggered this
recall.
early in the day, all right? Like, that's not what I need. What do you think about CE when it comes to drafting? Because obviously it feels like they've done their research when it comes to the tournament as a whole. But scratch that, because now it's time for the draft. Game number 1 here, as we have Luna Meow going up against CE on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
You did mention drafting, though. I will say this has been the concern for CE. They play incredibly well compared to a lot of the Chinese teams, but their drafting has always been considered to be inconsistent, and that has been an issue for them in the past.
Genji has been one of the highest banned heroes, along with Malfurion, one of the 2 highest involved heroes.
I didn't think coming into this term I'd ever see that ban in the first rotation.
Yeah,
there you go.
Ariel first ban. Stukov not first picked as well. Luna Meow not expecting CE to take it, seeing as Malfurion is available. Very reasonable here.
Yeah, Malfurion, first few games for CE is definitely a thing, and I think right now it has to be. Malfurion is just a step above every other support that we have right now, and just has been so incredibly strong. It's really hard to go wrong with. There are certain healers, right, that you're like, oh, I want this because compositionally it might be better. But Malfurion is like, I can do this on all of these, right?
Right.
So,
64% win rate, and he's the most picked hero.
Yeah.
That's generally when it's most picked, it's around 50.
Scratch that.
So a huge issue that CE has been having in a lot of these matches already is the fact that Alufal hasn't been able to do what Alufal does best, and that is carry. So immediately coming out with the Tracer and also putting KTY back onto that Tassadar, this is one of its highest win rate heroes, mostly because it is put with that Tracer a lot of the time.
Now, this is interesting because both of these teams have been willing to pick Varian into the Tracer as a counter, but this so far has not worked for all of this tournament. So I'm wondering if Luna Meow would be willing to do that with Virgil, who generally doesn't like to move into a secondary tank. I think probably we won't see that here since they first picked that Garrosh. I would like them just to stick to the game plan. Another hero that I have a question about between these 2 teams, Greymane. Both have played a lot of it. Alufal has been willing to play a lot of it, but he is doing terribly at this event.
He's going to be on the Tracer if there was any choice
here.
Here.
Yes. I meant more so for Luna Meow too.
Yeah, if we were to see the Greybane coming in here, it would likely be Zhuyu playing it, and he would almost certainly be running it as a solo laner, due to Tassadar being played by KTY, who would be the usual solo laner for the team, unless whatever tank they pick tries to hold down the lane, which on this map, it's pretty small rotations are possible.
CE has actually had success with this exact same draft. When they played against the 1, it was first pick Garrosh by the 1, and then first rotation was a Tassadar Tracer. Ended up going into the Rhaegar Falstad, and then a Johanna, obviously, that complements this map, because, you know, Tassadar gives you a little bit of wave clear, Tracer not so much, and you can spec into it at 13, talent into that. But beyond that, you got to have some different ways to do that. So whether it's the Rhaegar ban here or the Johanna ban, I wonder if Luna Meow has done some research. Obviously, Johanna, very, very strong, and normally one of the counters, and I say counter very... not so much a counter, but like a safer pick against the Garrosh.
It's so interesting, right? Because I think, like, not only, you know, Gilly, your thought and concept of, like, banning out, potentially taking the Varian, but they banned out Oriel, which can technically have a blind later. They banned out Cassia, which can technically have a blind. Because Garrosh was picked first, they couldn't even pick Johanna on Tomb of the Spider Queen, which is really good for her. So there's no blinds there either. So no blinds, no Varian, do what you want. It's crazy.
Maybe attack speed slows with some of those last picks. But yeah, they're doing everything in their power to make sure that Aloof has a free reign. And I mean,
I really like this
pick.
pick.
There you go.
I mean, it takes away some of the potential wave clear, and you look at the other options right now. It's going to be a Muradin, maybe an Anubarak. You got to look at heroes that have mobility that can deal with the fact that Garrosh is there. Diablo is kind of that other option, because if you get tossed over, you just shadow charge your way back to safety. And those are really the main counters that we've seen to deal with Garrosh flip. And Tomb of the Spider Queen, there are a lot of areas where you can get flipped. You need those gems. Well, Garrosh is going to welcome you in, see if you'll come pick them up, and see if he can throw you around.
We haven't seen it yet, but you think maybe a KTY Tychus here?
Once again, I feel it's very likely KTY will be playing the Tassadar.
Oh yeah, you're
as
right.
that's usually
Task
his main.
Tracer. That
There is a
makes
small
more sense.
chance Juyu could have been practicing it. Also 365, sensible pick here. There is a wins Muradin. So this is interesting. If Juyu has been practicing the Tassadar a little bit more, there is a chance they could flex that and bring in KTY. Otherwise, they've left their solo lane open, so this could be Juyu running with his trademark Sonya, or potentially running in with a Greymane or a Blaze, depending on what Luna Meow pick. They've left themselves reactive here, and you were talking about tanks that have at least a little bit of safety against being tossed. Muradin is very tanky. He's one of those heroes who just hopes to survive the initial burst after being flipped.
One hero that has yet to be picked up here is a Maiev. Maiev not necessarily objectively strong, but Gul'dan makes up for a lot of that. So you have a lot of initiation options. It's just getting onto a Tassadar, getting onto a Tracer is difficult. But a Maiev, it could be a little bit of a sneaky pick here, but you still need a solo lane. But that also gives you playmaking potential later into the game.
Yeah, they still need a Bowie hero.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Regardless, they still need something for Bowie.
Which he has played Maiev. Gul'dan being likely played by Garnet Devil here.
Virgil might steal this Sonya, actually.
Thrall.
Thrall? Oh, okay.
Okay, very ranged heavy, so we don't see a Maiev. Thrall being pulled out as the solo laner here, so...
Wouldn't Maiev could just be great here? Or is it overlapping in pools?
Juyu? I don't know about
I think they need wave clear. I think they've got a Blaze here would be great. Dahaka, depending on what they truly feel.
I'm trying to think, who is the Maiev player for CE? I think it might be KTY, which would make it unlikely for them to grab it themselves, which would be a little unfortunate.
It was, but he's only played one total. They're just not really a Maiev team in general.
So Juyu's likely going to pick just whatever solo laner he feels is going to do okay against Thrall. Or they could go a little crazy and put Tass in the solo lane. They have actually done this before to try and really mess up the solo lane rotations.
Tassadar is an old school solo laner in a lot of regards, so that is an option. You know, the one thing I look at when I see Luna Meow's draft, you see the Gul'dan, you see the Malfurion, you see the Thrall, you see the Tychus. I look at all those heroes and I'm thinking, man, which one of those people really wants to be eating a Pulse Bomb? As we get the Junkrat, so we might get that Junkrat solo instead.
Yeah,
but
possible.
A Maiev is one of those people that has, you know, you can use your vault, you just hit D, dodge that. But outside of that, Tychus, post level 10, 13, depending on where you're at, can deal with the Pulse Bombs. But everybody on that team is a potential kill target for Tracer.
Right.
So Luful has potential to go off in this game because there's no safety buttons at all. Malfurion, no burst heals. There's no way you can save that. The only person that can save themselves is Tychus.
Well, it's time to get some predictions. Going to be starting with
Oh, wow, I've barely had time to look at the draft. I'm gonna base my my prediction off of comforts, judging from these two teams, and based on that, I see Aluful playing Tracer, I see KTY's Junkrat, and I gotta go with CE.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. The Junkrat coming out here. I don't know who's playing it. I know KTY, and I assume you can play it, so I'm gonna say that's probably a comfortable flex. I'm also gonna go with CE.
I'm looking for Aluful to go off in this game, so I'm 100% on the Aluful train. Put me down for CE.
I think we're 100% on the CE train then overall, with the 4 being chosen here. But let's see what Twitch chat thinks as well. 65-35, pretty close. I think people just like Luna Meow's logo, to be perfectly honest. Very cute. That's why they're voting for it. 62%, a little bit of fluctuation going on there as we continue things. Let's check in with the commentary team that are going to be bringing you this first cast. I can't even see. Who is it? It's Wolf and it's Dread.
Hi. Hello there. I can see you.
That's unfortunate.
He just forgot what we look like.
Yeah, okay.
I feel really offended.
No, that's fine. I just can't see you at a distance from this particular monitor, but that's all fine. Looking forward to this game, boys?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I agree with a lot of the things you guys had to say. My only concern is about the off-lane decision-making. Thrall bodies Junkrat in a solo lane, so it's like that Tassadar swap, are we going to see that? It's going to be interesting to see what CE does.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of Junkrat in Korea as the solo laner on this map because you're doing a lot of roaming. You don't have that dedicated off lane, so I think it could work out here.
All right, well, have fun, boys. Have fun.
We're going to have fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, very much so here. The kind of chaos and skirmishing that both of these teams are very, very strong and good at is going to come to light here. And I'm very excited for the fact that we have Garnet Devil on his Gul'dan. For me, this is one of his best heroes. I got a lot to say about it here as we get into game 1.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and introduce Luna Meow first with KT4 on the Garrosh, Garnet Devil on Gul'dan, Kim on Malfurion, Virgil on Thrall, and Bowie 005 on the Tychus.
And in the red, gonna be CE over here with a nice dance out from Shuyu. KTY will be on the Tassadar. Oluful playing the Tracer. 365 on his Rhaegar. Murden will be played by Wind. And we got Shuyu again onto the Junkrat.
I can't speak for North America or Europe as much as I can speak for Korea for drafts like this, but normally speaking, the Tracer has to be high impact in Tomb of the Spider Queen for this draft to work because the wave clear is decent on the side of CE, but it's great on Luna Meow. They have a lot of late game potential as well if the game goes longer. Normally doesn't on this map, but Gul'dan is going to get stronger as the game goes on, and Oluful really has to carry. I think he definitely can, and it's one of his best heroes, but it's not going to be an easy game per se if the early game does not go well for CE.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment. It doesn't, you know, kind of alter no matter what here with how much wave clear exists on the side of Luna Meow. And I think that's why I was so concerned when looking at the side lane, right? Because if Thrall is a superior off lane, forcing Tassadar to go away or into the Junkrat, then it puts it in a very weak, you know, awkward situation. R4 is struggling, R1 is struggling, and on Tomb, you know, it's only second to Dragonshire in terms of how big of a conundrum that can kind of force, because Shuyu has no opportunity to, again, heal up into that Thrall. So I think it's actually a very tough spot for CE to be in. And again, that pressure is on Oluful.
And I think the critical moments are going to be when Oluful has the Pulse Bomb available. He does right now. And those are going to be the moments where Luna Meow needs to be careful, need to make sure that they're not giving him opportunities to get into the back line. Sure, you know, JL was talking about how there's no real panic buttons to escape from that. I guess the only exception would be Malfurion when he gets his Ice Block, but beyond that, I mean, you don't really have any way to avoid those. So that's going to be the scary moment. So Oluful is always going to be harassing. He's always going to be looking to farm Pulse Bombs, look for those backline picks. Junkrat can be great at delaying the objective, but so the Luna Meow's comp is great as well. They've got Thrall, they have Gul'dan, and you know, most of all, they have Malfurion. So the first turn, I think, is going to be the real place where we can kind of draw a line and decide who's going to have the early game advantage, because there's so many ways to delay. Right now, we've got a pretty even game, both teams playing pretty passive. There's the first pulse, but it's on Garrosh, and he doesn't really mind it.
Yeah, and I think on that note, when you're talking about where the snowball is going to be, again, right, with that first turn in, I think it's very important to note as well that when the first turn in held on, that concussion mine knocking out Buoy, the Stormbolt is there, and CE end up getting that first blood that they need. KT4 doesn't end up getting the toss over, but a counter dwarf toss back here. CE hold their own. But what I was saying is that turn-in, that snowball, is very much going to be the case, but one of these teams has a much more forgiving turn-in. Hold on, another concussion mine with the post-bomb follow-up? Stormbolt was there, but this time, you know, Garnet Devil makes it out.
He does get out, but he ends up taking a lot of damage. This is going to give some room for those turn-ins. And, you know, this is a great opportunity for CE to start to take control of this game. You can see, even in these small moments, it gives some space for Junkrat to kind of clean up that bot lane that he was losing earlier. They take an experience lead as they grab those extra gems. They don't get as much of a turn-in out of this as I think they could have because of the lane pressure that was in the bot lane. But still, slight advantage now to CE, and I think they've proven already, this Stormbolt there, gotta talk about that, but they've proven already that they can look for picks with this comp, and it's not just about the Tracer, but the concussive mines can give you a lot of setup potential.
Yeah, and that was all enabled because of the early Knight rotation that we saw out from them. And again, what I was trying to bring up a little bit before is that because of the wave clear advantage does exist, is superior on the side of Luna Meow. The Web Weaver phase, if they get a turn in, the odds of it having value is significantly higher than CE. CE gets the Web Weaver phase, and it's not done yet because the wave clear is there. They have to get kills. They have to dive and threaten with that. So we already got signs of life around the first siege attempt, but I can't help but feel like if Luna Meow, you know, doesn't let the double concussion mine happen, is that going to be the same impact here? So I still, you know, think there's room for error for sure on both sides.
Well, they're going to grab Wind here. Does finally get his Dwarf Toss off and get away. But yeah, I mean, the thing about Luna Meow's comp in terms of what you're talking about is they have Gul'dan. So, I mean, he is going to be able to really, really empower a push. And CE doesn't have much range damage to counteract that. So, you know, I completely agree with what you're saying, and so the picks, again, have to be good. They've only gotten one kill so far. We're only 4 minutes in, so it's not terrible. They get the first Web Weaver, but this isn't going to be as impactful as Luna Meow's, as you say. Let's see if they can force some picks here during this phase, because just getting a wall or two here, I don't think is going to be the lead they were looking for.
Oluful has had an amazing rotation to be able to get the 2 versus 1 mismatch into the... Because Thrall wins the lane by getting kills, not by getting the clear. Junkrat has better clear, so by Tracer coming down to threaten him off, getting a lot of value out of that bottom Giants, which is going to enable this Web Weaver to be that much more threatening. I said, you know, we talked about they need to get those kills, and a lot of times that can be questionable on a map like Tomb, but based off of these last 2 rotations between the Knights and then here from Aluful, I'm very confident they understand what they need to do with the Task Tracer on Tomb, and it's leading to another pick here on bottom as Shuyu. Concussion might not what he wanted, but one more nade.
He missed it.
He gets out.
Nearly got cut off there by the wave coming out from the Web Weaver. He does get away. Practically a kill. Not going to add a tally to the scoreboard, but still, it was a good rotation. It was a great pick potential there that they had. And it still forces Thrall to back, so he's not here. He's not defending. And I think this Web Weaver push was absolutely enough. I think CE can start to snowball this game now with the lead they have. I love how they're threatening using Wind very aggressively. He's put himself in jeopardy a few times, but he's managed to escape. And now that they have Cleanse, you know, it's a little bit easier for Muradin to get out of those sticky situations. And Aluful's just always looking for potential picks. And it's okay if this Pulse doesn't get a kill because he's building it quickly. He's constantly attacking heroes. And it's pretty efficient.
Bit of a trade here on mid. Garnet Devil receiving that pressure from Aluful. No Pulse Bomb yet. They're sitting about 40% for him.
Yeah, he's practically halfway there already. Despite, you know, that whiffed Pulse Bomb, it got a connection, but there was no follow-up damage. And he's just still making this Tracer pick very threatening. You know, you never feel safe as Luna Meow when you've got such a great Tracer player on the other side, constantly harassing the DPS. When KT4 is not able to stun, not able to threaten, then he's just constantly harassing the Tychus, constantly harassing the Malfurion.
So this is a very difficult situation for Luna Meow. And I mean, looking a 10-9 type of situation, obviously that's always difficult, but I want to raise how drastic on a map like Tomb in this circumstance, how bad this can get if Luna Meow makes a misstep over this level disparity. Because they have 50 gems, if they end up losing those and then leaving the next Weaver wave to go over in favor of CE, that is going to look to a, 2 to 3 level lead at that point in time. So it is very important Luna Meow treads lightly with their rotations and do not lose any of these gems in this downtime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They basically need to slowly delay as carefully as possible, never overextending to delay. And right now, it's a really cool moment for them because it's just barely not enough for CE to get the double turn in, so they have to, right now, soak for 10 while not overextending. If they can get 10, they can certainly fight their way on even talent tiers back to a turn in, but they just make sure not to die, as you say.
Yeah, Virgil did a really good job with that anchor. That provided a lot of vision to the initiation attempt on mid. And again, that was them very much showing they are aware of how difficult this position could be for a moment. Aluful barely able to get that blink out of that root from Kim. Great job there. If that hits, I'm pretty sure that's one dead Tracer.
Yeah, and that ends up, perhaps turning this game on its head. What I do love about CE is how aggressive they're able to do while using Tassadar to maintain soak. They're pushing mid heavily to get that fort. During that same time, they know Luna Meow can't commit to fight, can't commit to defend because they don't have 10. They do now, but it's too late. We've got a double turn in.
Yeah, and we see Luna Meow, again, with that passive, kind of approach that they ended up getting here. That same rule I said before still holds because they have not gotten themselves a turn in. Granted, they have far higher probability of holding their own in that skirmishes. And now that we've hit the 10, I want to highlight the one reason I really like Garnet Devil's, Gul'dan. For better or for worse, he does not wait. Bowie actually getting caught out, dropping the Odin, not going to be able to keep him alive. And for better or for worse, he does not wait with his Horrifies. If he thinks you are out of position, he will snap drop it. And oftentimes, it wins a team fight for this team. Granted, sometimes it's used when maybe not necessary. Hold up, Riptire out.
Riptire's out here. KT4 might get knocked back here. He wants to go all the way on the Garnet Devil, gets the knockback there. They don't get kills, but because Tychus is down, they're able to grab another fort here. So they've eliminated all forts now. They can start to damage this mid-keep wall. This Web Weaver's still very healthy. And Luna Meow, they have Tychus back, but he used Odin, unfortunately. That's 5 times longer than his death timer. That cooldown's still up. 60 seconds left, so he can't even activate it here on the defense. And this Web Weaver push is just getting incredible value. And CE has certainly run away with this game now.
Yeah, Luna Meow, though, does have those gems. They did not sacrifice anything. And there's oftentimes the counter response to the playstyle that we see out of CE is the double turn-in approach from this point on. But the problem is the 13 talent tier breaking point is going to be here before any opportunity to get that turn-in attempt on the side of Luna Meow. So they're going to have to be able to sneak that in through the talent tier down. But if they do so, this is still a case where they can turn it back into a dead even game. It's just you slip up once and the avalanche begins.
Oh yeah, really, I completely agree with you there. And it's unfortunate too that Luna Meow has to now fight against the threat of this Tracer while they're trying to soak. And Tassadar's up in top, completely free to continue to keep that lane pushed, just farming gems. They're a ways away, about 40 gems away from another turn-in, but TAS is farming for free. And Luna Meow can't go up there and threaten him, because if they do, they're going to get collapsed on by the really mobile Tracer that comes through. And I love how Wind is just constantly maintaining vision, constantly threatening with this Mura.
That's one of those situations where I'd like to see Kim be a little bit safer there with the use onto that cleanse. Or the Nature's Cure, excuse me, just because it puts it in a position to where now it's very, very punishable. That one Storm Bolt, even if there was 4 people behind it, is not going to be immediate one-shot. And it's not realistically going to be something necessary because Tracer can get the track down for the Pulse Bomb either way. It's not a major misstep at this point in time unless CE punishes it, but it's that kind of stuff here that we look at and just why maybe, you know, Luna Meow has been struggling to be able to get the wins here.
Yeah, you just have to, sometimes you do have to highlight the mechanical difference between these two teams, and, you know, this is just one of those moments. Sure, he's going to be kicking himself for that next time he doesn't have that Nature's Cure available. And I just love how aggressive CE is. They're saying we have control of the map, we have a talent tier advantage, we're consistently getting picks, Wind is always where he needs to be.
Yeah.
So they're just, without even having an objective, forcing down these walls.
Stormbolt not going to connect there. That's one of those ones I didn't keep track of the exact time where Nature's Cure came out, but again, that's like
that would have been close,
if that hits, that could be the kill that maybe he would have desired it kind of later on here. But Luna Meow has done what I honestly considered impossible based on the aggression that we saw out of CE and the success they had with it in the earlier stages. They have held on for the 13 talents here to attempt for a double Web Weaver turn-in phase. And if they're successful with it, again, because they have such good wave clear, this could be a very different tale. But they desperately need to be able to turn these in.
Yeah, they need to be able to turn them in. But, you know, 2 deaths, I think, is the really... That's the thing you look at this UI that tells the biggest story of this game, and the 117 gems carried is if they can somehow win a fight, if the Horrify's in the right spot, or if they get a 6 Sundering, maybe an overextension for a Luful, he gets stunned, they chain the stuns together, Garrosh comes in there, maybe there's a way they could get a pick, get those turn-ins, and then with the experience deficit they have, you know, get that comeback EXP, maybe utilize that to get a double Web Weaver, and the whole game turns on its head. But it feels like a pipe dream right now because CE is playing safe, Wind's in constant position to get vision. They're not taking these defensive fights because CE is just not making mistakes on the aggression.
And now Luna Meow, they can't wait this out. They've got to find a way. It's getting that much more desperate. Ladies and gentlemen, fighting into the 16 talent tier is not the same as the 13. Neither feel good, but one feels absolutely terrible compared to the other, and that's the 16. With this Night Camp zoning out, providing not only wave control, but vision control for the time being. Wind actually going to move up, lands the Stormbolt onto Kim. Trank pop very early.
He's going to have to use his self-cleanse here. Wind is right where he needs to be. The Sundering here, great for the disengage. There's a follow-up Fear, but there's no damage here. The Riptire going to help disengage. KT4, very, very low. Has that armor. They want to commit to this. It's a little bit crazy. Luful gets the recall off. Pulse, not enough damage.
A lot of fireworks there, Wolf. But
that was the closest they ever were. That was the closest they ever were, but it's not close enough.
It was not close enough. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised. There was 2 moments. With how early that Trank was, if I'm CE, I go, I'm not taking this fight. And then when I see that Odin, I'm not going to take it either. Hold up, but they're still skirmishing. A Luful getting knocked up. No blink charges. Kim getting knocked out with that concussion mine over to the other side. 3 more nades, and Shuyu takes the first kill of this skirmish. Ancestral lands Wind with the Dwarf toss in. Indomitable used, but not going to dominate this time. Virgil trying to kite away. 49 gems are out of here with that Psy Storm. 3 for nothing, and CE look like they are ready to take a boss and possibly game.
Yeah, this looks like it might just end up being a perfect game, unfortunately. You know, we talked about the 2 deaths only for Luna Meow. We were talking about, look at that on the UI, and you could practically draw a 1 next to CE's name after this fight. Gems were lost. They're only carrying 55. That's less than half of what they carried before that last fight. And CE could take this free boss. They have so much push potential with the boss because of their talent tier advantage and the threatening power that Luful has. He had a few risky moments in that fight for sure. In fact, so much so that Ancestral was committed just to keep him alive. The rare Ancestral, you know, connecting with a Tracer. But when he has all of his cooldowns up, he's got his recall, he's got his blink, it's so difficult to play around. Again, the tools are going to be on the defense here. You can get a good Horrify, you can connect it with some stuns with the Garrosh and the Sundering. But I feel like more on CE making a mistake than it is on Luna Meow having the potential to make that play right now because they're playing on the defensive against this boss and Web Weavers together.
Yeah, and CE's not letting up in any way, shape, or form. Even then, KTY, you know, goaltending it for any counter possible turn-in attempt so they can stack this Web Weaver and this boss on the top half. Odin's going to be dropped. No 16 talent here. Only a Horrify, I feel like, is going to be able to stop this heat, maybe even this game at this point in time, because CE has so much mounting here.
And look at the spread of CE too. It's just so hard to get a good Horrify here. They start with a stun, they get the toss and the taunt, but there's the cleanse. Fear comes in with the Sun Ring, but it's not enough damage. Webweavers and Boss on the core here. Tassadar pulling out the Archon, and Meow, no one's dying, but the core's going down.
Yeah, KT4 though, gonna get stuck down in the middle of the members of CE. All the focus there, shielding on the core is now gonna be removed. Boss sitting at about 25% HP, 70 and counting. Garnet Devil and friends, no Horrify. And CE, well, it looks like they're gonna be able to walk away here, ladies and gentlemen, with a perfect game, a shutout. 14 minutes in, 8-0 against Luna Meow.
Very clean and dry CE, showing the power of the Tracer pick here. Aluful really making it happen. They prioritized it highly in the draft, and for good reason. It's a great pick with the Tassadar on this map, and they controlled things. I have to say, Luna Meow played as well as they could have given the situation, and even that defense on the core, they had the CCs connect, but they were too far behind. They couldn't actually synergize to make those crowd control effects work together. And despite the fact that basically no one died in that initial fight for them, there was just too much push. There was the Boss, there was the Web Weavers, you got Tassadar there, Muradin's hitting Storm Bolts, no one can get out of the Hall of Storms while they're trying to heal. It was really well done by CE.
Yeah, and I cannot praise that rotation from Aluful down below, because it opened up so much opportunity from CE and friends. But that's all we got to say there on that match. We're going to throw it over to the panel and see what they thought about it.
CC being strong here on Tomb of the Spider Queen we get some unconventional builds every so often from some of these teams.
Yeah.
With a Tracer and a Gul'dan, it's an interesting watch.
The regional flair from that, I wanted to talk about that, but we went into predictions so fast. Garnet Devil has an interesting Gul'dan build with his Drain Life build. I saw it a little bit in their regional play, and then we gotta talk about it, Tetcher. The untouchable for Aloof.
This is Aluful's standard go-to. It happens from some other teams in China, but this is the thing with Aluful. He is so good on that Tracer that he is absolutely comfortable just picking that every single time he picks the hero. I love it because he will absolutely get kills and will very rarely die on the hero. I'm not so keen on it due to the fact that untouchable itself is so risky, due to the fact you have to get in close for pulse bomb. But if you have someone like KTY, who in my opinion Tassadar is absolutely his best hero, protecting you, I would feel pretty comfortable trying to take that risk.
I love seeing those risks, so I love seeing
if I've got a Tassadar, I'm like, let's go. And then if I look at the other team, look, I said this
and a cleanse as well.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? I was like, look, they have no save buttons on the other side for Luna Meow. Yeah. But then I also realized, like, they also have no CC, right? Like, it's a groundbreaker and a route that you're trying to land. Like, those are hard. And, you know, at zero ping, that one Dread called out where the route started to come in, just zip right out. That is how good he is. And I'm like, this is free, right?
Yep.
I actually have a replay where we can actually talk about some of this, because this is what I'm saying is, like, if you get the chance to just run right. First off, let's pause it here. This is actually a really weird fight for me, because as Dread pointed out, all of the heroics were used, and, you know, the Tranquility being the main one. Obviously, we've got an Odin, but just the fact that they're willing to re-engage 14-16 means they were desperate. And so right now, we're going to run it forward because Aluful is kind of just chilling. He's looking to make the play, and we're going to pause it right here because this is the main play. Wind did such a great job initiating all game. Getting the Dwarf tosses in, and Aluful's just kind of chilling, waiting for his moment, waiting for his opportunity. But the key member is going to be Zuyu up at the top here. Now watch this. This is a really fun play because Kim is chilling. He's like, I'm good here. No big deal. Watch Zuyu come in. We're going to get a concussion mine. Just instantly sets it off. Who would like a delivery here? Because Aluful's like, let's go. And Aluful comes in, he's like, this is free. And then boom, gonna get him taken down right there. And then as we run it forward here, Aluful just goes off. He has untouchable. He's got his stacks up. Also, by the way, he went Ricochet at 13, so he is running everybody down. There is absolutely zero threat for him at this point. And that is just, if I'm a Tracer player, I'm licking my chops. The minute I see that draft, I'm like, this is my game. And Aluful just did it.
Yeah, and shout out to Wind for that double Stormbolt too. And this is what I have been missing from CE this entire tournament so far, and for quite a while, is this kind of synergistic team fighting. And I almost feel like, you know, Shu used to be a ranged player, and he played a fantastic Junkrat considering the fact that he's mostly been sticking to melees. And so having that and Aluful's Tracer, it looked like a completely different team.
Turns out you give a team stuff that they really like, they can do